Okay, so since July last year, I've had antisocial neighbours that have moved in, and I've been, since literally they moved in at night, all nights, they make antisocial noise. And, the first couple of nights I ignored it, and then when it was constantly happening, I went and knocked on his door and I asked him to keep it down and moved into the other room and not be talking above my bed all fucking night. And then from that instant, he started stomping into the ceiling, slamming doors for the next 3 hours, and then that happens every single night, and antisocial shouting and a lot of abuse and harassment from them non-stop for now a year and 4 months. And I've reported this to the council, and because the previous tenants were alcoholics that also stayed up at night and made antisocial noise, the council discriminated against my mental health, saying that because I suffered from depression, that the mind works in mysterious ways, and that because I've suffered one mental health disorder, it's entirely possible for me to suffer any mental health disorder. And then they made false claims of me imagining it. And then they made discriminatory action plans, and even though I won my case with the Housing Ombudsman against them, they still continued to follow discriminatory action plan. And then, even though the antisocial harassment was still continuing, they prematurely closed the case. They wouldn't reopen it. And then when I tried to get them to pay attention to the still ongoing harassment, they demanded that I would have to have the same guy come to my house and talk to me again that had discriminated against me in my home and made the discriminatory action plan and not done anything, and he refused to speak to the upstairs neighbours about their antisocial harassment. And part of the Housing Ombudsman case that I'd won as well said about them prematurely closing cases and reopening them and having to do it from the beginning to do the same stuff over and over and over again. Poor procedure. And yeah, and that just wasn't good. And then there was the ASB diaries that I've been forced to fill in. And I filled in 3 of them, recording the most serious of incidents. And even though I'd filled in all those, the officer said that it would only have to be treated as my word against theirs. So that would never be evidence. And, he refused to gather witness statements or any evidence of the harassment and ongoing harassment besides just the noise, because there's a lot of ongoing harassment besides just the noise. So, I stopped filling them out at that point, especially as they weren't even investigating. They were refusing to investigate and they were doing nothing. So, I looked into the right to buy application, which you're aware of. I'm sure I've published all of that stuff saying about all of that. And just to try and get noise isolation installed, because they refused to do that, because they discriminate against me rather than doing any sort of investigations. They refused to put noise monitoring to capture the evidence, but they're like, no, there's no evidence, but they're not going to provide any means to capture the evidence. They do no investigation, they do nothing. So, fast forward to April this year, where obviously it's been Corona, and since March, they were blasting out every single night, having antisocial parties till 3-4 a.m. Then obviously lockdown occurred at the end of March, and these parties still continued every single night, where they're having like 8 guests in the property. There was a lot of people up there, men and women, all having antisocial parties. There was a hole in my ceiling in the bathroom from February for a couple of weeks where there was a leak, and whilst that leak was there, they stank out my hallway and the bathroom of weed, because they smoked out so much weed in the property, or they grow it in there, because I've seen plastic sheeting, and since then they've blocked out the curtains with block-out curtains, but it might even be a grow house. But yeah, this absolutely stank out my entire hallway in my bathroom whilst there was that hole in the ceiling from the leak of weed, because there's just so much weed smell coming from their house that it's permeated strongly down into my home. So yeah, that was a big issue. But yeah, their antisocial parties still continued through March, April, May, and the council were doing nothing. You call up the police go, it's a council issue, and they don't take any details and they refuse to do anything. So repeated phone calls to the police. Of course I was calling 112 because I thought that was the non-emergency number, but they kicked at my door. There were threats of killing me. There was other harassment. They fired fireworks at my bedroom window at 3:30 in the morning a.m. They've thrown glass on my doorstep. They've put excrement in my bin. They've pissed on my window. They've pissed through my letterbox. They've harassed me. They've kicked on my door. There's whole heaps of evidence of their harassment against me. Nothing ever gets done, and but they make false allegations against me because in April the 14th, the day before my birthday, I just wanted to be able to sleep because of lockdown and all that. And, these antisocial parties were continuing every single night where they weren't letting me sleep at all at night. So, I just lost it on that day. Started banging up into the ceiling through the entire day and shouting, if you don't fucking let me sleep at night, I'm not fucking letting you sleep in the daytime. But no, that instantly, that gets them a crime report, and apparently I'm harassing them when it's been 10 months at that point of harassment that I've suffered from them in more than just the antisocial noise nuisance at night every single night. And there's also many times where I've pointed out to the council that there are 4 men living in the property every single night, because they used to come in at midnight on the dot. They've been for the past couple of months coming in at 10:15, multiple men to stay in the property all night every night. And they tell the neighbours, and they tell the police, and they tell the council that there's only one person living there and he works at night. Suspicious. Because there's evidence, clear evidence of many men coming in and occupying the property all night and consuming drugs and having parties. And if that's his job, then there's got to be something to do with drug dealing, right? Very suspicious. Yeah, I pointed out millions of times about the many men that live in the property at night. That come into the property at night and then they disappear. And then they get to coming throughout the night and coming back, which is very suspicious nature. Anyway, moving along. So, they continue to do this antisocial noise and harassment all the time. The council endlessly defends them and go, oh, agency, personally, it's not in. It's like, there's this evidence, why don't you just come and fucking witness the people that are in the property making antisocial noise and about every single night. And there's actually one call, when the police constantly following it off and not taking these mirrors just for defense of that will who in the council, because who are the council, they don't do anything, so they said environmental health. Since then I'm involved in environmental health in the issue, and the environmental health are only able to investigate the music noise nuisance, not the